Good evening, everybody, from Fenway Park in Boston. Tonight, a battle between two teams heading in opposite directions as the Red Sox play host to the Texas Rangers. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sean McDonough, along with Ray Knight. We're delighted to have you with us tonight. The Rangers have lost 15 of their last 20. Meanwhile, the Red Sox have won 13 of their last 22. They're a new-look ball club since they acquired Tom Brunansky.
Well, they sure have. They replaced Nick Kosaski, which was a big thing they had to do, 30 home runs plus, and even with him last year, they were next to last in the league in home runs.
And Tom Brunansky also allows Dwight Evans to stay on the bench as the DH. The Red Sox really needed a right fielder, and they have that now in Tom Brunansky. Here's tonight's Sears Die Hard starting lineup for the Texas Rangers. Jeff Houston leads off at shortstop. Jack Doherty in left field. Rafael Palmeiro at first base. Ruben Sierra batting cleanup in right field. Julio Franco at second base. Harold Baines is the DH. Gino Petralli is doing the catching. Mike Stanley, the third baseman, batting eighth. And Cecil Espy is in center field, batting ninth. That is the lineup going up against rookie Dana Kicker. He gets the start tonight for the Boston Red Sox, his first start in 2 weeks. And his first pitch of the ball game to Jeff Houston, a strike called. Houston, in the words of Texas manager Bobby Valentine, has been the Rangers' best player this season. His average .330, he's driven in 8 runs. Sends it out of play to the left side, and the count is quickly no balls and 2 strikes.
Sean, Dana Kicker has a sinker, curveball, slider, changeup. He has to throw strikes, spot the ball in strike zone, move it around. Not a power pitcher. As you see, he's given up 21 hits and 19 in the 3rd innings, only 12 strikeouts.
Houston stays alive at no balls and 2 strikes.
And one thing to zero in on with Dana Kicker, he likes to throw inside. He's not afraid to throw inside.
Down the first baseline, foul, still 0-2.
Defense for the Boston Red Sox. In right field, Tom Brunansky. Ellis Burks in center field. Mike Greenwell in left. Around the infield, Boggs at third. Rivera at short. Reed, the second baseman. Danny Heap tonight at first base. Catcher Tony Pena. And our pitcher is Dana Kicker. 6'3", 180-pound right-hander.
And he misses low. Count 1 ball and 2 strikes. Houston acquired by the Rangers just before the start of the regular season in a trade that sent the left-handed relief pitcher Drew Hall to the Montreal Expos. He had been a productive player at the minor league level for the Montreal Expos, but with Tim Wallach and Spike Owen on the left side of the Expos infield, Houston wasn't able to break through. On the ground down to third, Wade Boggs throws him out.
Number 8, Doherty. Left fielder, Doherty.
1 out, top of the first, just underway. Game 2 of our Tuesday ESPN Baseball Tonight doubleheader. This game 2 of a brief 2-game series between these two clubs. Joe Morgan and the Red Sox came from 2-0 down last night to beat the Rangers 4-2 behind Mike Boddicker, who's won 5 straight decisions. That's Bill Buckner alongside Morgan. Here's Jack Doherty, the left fielder. First pitch low from Dana Kicker. Doherty's a switch hitter, batting .236. No homers. He's driven in 6 runs. To right field, and that falls in front of Brunansky for the game's first hit. Doherty playing left field tonight with Pete Incaviglia in the midst of a slump. That hit breaks Doherty out of an 0-for-11 drought. A 1-out base runner for Texas. Here's Rafael Palmeiro at .303. 4 home runs. He's driven in 20.
Well, after struggling last year, second half of the season, Rafael was leading the American League in hitting. May the 28th last year, hitting .361, and struggled and only hit .235 the rest of the season. This year he's gotten his stroke back, staying back, hitting the ball very hard.
Throw down to first, and Doherty is back ahead of the tag from Danny Heap. Doherty has not attempted a stolen base this year. And that's one thing that American League base runners have become aware of very quickly with Tony Pena back at the plate. He will throw the ball at any base at any time. Kicker's throw to first skips away from Heap. Tracked down by Jody Reed, and Doherty takes second.
Well, Danny just turns and makes a quick throw into the runner. Danny Heap not playing a lot of first base this year, couldn't stop the ball.
And the error, they've not yet posted the error as to whether or not it's on kicker or Heap, but that will likely be on kicker. And it moves Doherty to second base. Pitch outside the Palmeiro. 1 ball and 1 strike. Danny Heap is making his first start of the season at first base. He appeared there for the first time last night in the late innings as Joe Morgan made some maneuvers trying to pull out that ball game against Texas. That's outside. 2-1 to Palmeiro, who brings a 7-game hitting streak into tonight's action. Those his numbers over the 7 games, a .448 batting average. Ray, you mentioned his dramatic turnaround in a negative sense over the second half of last year. How much of that do you think can be attributed to playing his first year in Texas and the toll that the heat takes on players? We hear so much about it, but how much of that is fact and how much is fiction, do you think?
Well, as a ball player, I always like to play in heat, but you always do get tired in August, September. You just have to get a little bit more sleep, drink more liquids, but Rafael played a lot of ball games, and it could have. But talking to him in spring training, he said he just got his mechanics messed up. Only had 8 home runs, tried to start hitting the ball too hard, and as a result, he got out front and got away from being the type line drive type hitter that he is.
Lines it to right field. That's a base hit. Doherty is being waved in. Brunansky's throw will be cut off, and the Texas Rangers take a 1-0 lead. The Rangers capitalize on the kicker's throwing error. Doherty scores as Palmeiro extends his hitting streak to 8 games and picks up his 21st RBI of the year.
Well, Rafi, an outstanding line drive hitter, fastball that moves down and away from him, just keeps his head on the ball, stays back, and drives it out there to right field. Classic line drive stroke.
And he's at first with 1 out. Rangers jumped out to a 2-0 lead last night in the first inning, then failed to score the rest of the way against Boddicker, Rob Murphy, and Jeff Reardon. Bobby Valentine says that's been the biggest problem for the Rangers. They have not hit, and they have not scored runs. Ruben Sierra at .276, 6 homers, 23 RBI. The 1-0 pitch to him on the outside corner, a called strike. Sierra is still hobbled by a sprained right ankle. A freak injury. He hurt that ankle stepping onto an escalator in a shopping mall in the Arlington, Texas area. We talk about the hitting woes and lack of offense for the Texas Rangers. They've fallen down to a .235 average as a team, second lowest in the American League, ahead of only the Baltimore Orioles. 2 balls, 1 strike.
One thing about Ruben Sierra, Sean, he does not take that many pitches. He only walked 43 times last year. His career high is 44. Usually a power hitter will walk 60 or 70 times just out of respect. But Ruben Sierra's up there swinging the bat.
3 balls, 1 strike now. Sierra's in a little bit of a slump as well. He's 0 for 11 over his last 3 games. It's the first time this year he's gone hitless over 3 consecutive games. Kicker's throw right on the money to Heap, and a couple of fans down below with a mock cheer for Dana. Palmeiro takes off. The pitch is high and away, ball 4. Now back to our Baseball Tonight studios and John Saunders.
And Sean, at Yankee Stadium in New York, Dave LaPointe struggling early for the Yankees. Sammy Sosa at the plate. The breaking ball just hangs up there. Deep center field, gone for a home run. That's the 3rd pitch of the game. He's also given up a Dan Pasqua double. It's 1-0 in the first. Back to Sean and Ray.
Here at Fenway, it's 1-0 Texas. And the Rangers are threatening to add to the lead with 2 men on and 1 out. The 5th batter of the inning is Julio Franco. And Kicker's first pitch to him is right down the middle, strike 1.
We mentioned Sierra not walking much. Dana Kicker this year is he's averaging 4.66 walks per 9 innings. And he is the type of pitcher, as we mentioned at the top of the show, has to throw strikes to spots.
That's strike 2. Pena down to second. And Palmeiro is back safely as Reed had to come across the bag to take the throw. Dennis Lamp has started throwing in the Red Sox bullpen. We mentioned that Dana Kicker is pitching for the first time in 2 weeks. He was scheduled to start a game last week in Kansas City, but that was rained out. And as a result, he lost his turn. And he's pitching in less than ideal conditions tonight. Temperature at game time 51 degrees and going down, and there is the threat of rain here. Although 51 this time of the year might seem tropical to a native of Sleepy Eye, Minnesota. Dana was born in Sleepy Eye, Minnesota, grew up in Fairfax. He's out of St. Cloud State, where he was a teammate of Jim Eisenreich, now with the Kansas City Royals. In the hole, Rivera across the diamond, Heap with the stretch, and they get Franco by a running step. And the runners move up. 2 men now in scoring position with 2 outs. Palmeiro is the runner at third. And on the play, Ruben Sierra took second. And that brings up Harold Baines. He's hitless in his last 11 at-bats. And 1 for his last 19 over his last 6 games. His average has fallen to an un-Baines-like 219. 5 home runs for Baines. He's driven in 14. Up the middle, loved by Kicker. And he throws Baines out. 1 run for the Rangers in the top of the first after half an inning at Fenway. It's Texas 1 and Boston coming up. Here's tonight's Sears Die-Hard starting lineup for the Boston Red Sox. Wade Boggs leads off at third base. Jody Reed at second base. Mike Greenwell in left field. Tom Brunansky batting cleanup in right field. Dwight Evans is the DH. Tony Pena does the catching. Ellis Burks in center field. Danny Heap is the first baseman. And Luis Rivera at shortstop, batting ninth.
Texas Rangers on defense. Ruben Sierra in right field. Cecil Espy in center. Jack Doherty in left. Mike Stanley at third base tonight. Jeff Houston shortstop. Julio Franco at second. Rafael Palmeiro at first. Gino Petralli the catcher. And on the mound, Bobby Whitt. Bobby's a power pitcher. Fastball, hard slider. Really explosive fastball, about 90 plus, an occasional changeup. Tommy House calls it a choke change. He just grabs the ball deep into his hands and takes a little bit of velocity off of it with good arm motion.
As Whitt takes his warm-up tosses, we'll introduce you to tonight's umpiring crew. Behind the plate tonight, Greg Kosk. Rocky Rowe is the umpire at first base. Dan Morrison at second. And the crew chief calling the plays at third, Larry Barnett, in his 23rd year as an American League umpire. And Larry Barnett still gets booed here at Fenway Park for his part in the 1975 World Series, the controversial interference play or lack thereof involving Carlton Fisk and Ed Armbrister. Wade Boggs leads off against Witt and takes ball one low. You saw the Boggs average at 293. That's down from 333 when the month of May began. Live fastball in from Bobby Witt. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Well, the thing to look for Bobby Witt, he has to throw strikes and throw them early. He has a tendency to struggle early. Last week he gave up 8 straight hits, was an American League record to the Baltimore Orioles. If he gets off to a good start, starts throwing strikes, getting that breaking ball over, Bobby Valentine says you can just put it on cruise control because he's almost unhittable.
Out of play down the left field line. 2-2 to Wade Boggs. We saw the line for Bobby in that last start that you mentioned, Ray. 4 1/3 innings and 10 hits, 8 of them in a row. But I had a chance to see the highlights of those 8 in a row. ESPN on SportsCenter strung together all 8 hits, and there were a lot of looping base hits. Bobby Valentine said there were 5 broken bats out of the 8 hits. It wasn't as though the Orioles were hitting rockets all over the park. Low with the slider, and the count is 3 balls and 2 strikes. Boggs had the winning hit last night in the 7th inning, a 2-run single with 2 men out. That turned a 2-2 game into a 4-2 Red Sox win. And there's the Achilles heel for Bobby Witt, the walk. He walks Boggs to start the game. Witt led the majors last year in walks.
And not only that, he's led the major leagues 3 out of the last 4 years in walks. So he must throw strikes. Talking to Gino Petralli, he said he was just going to try to work off the fastball early to get him in rhythm, moving the fastball in and out. Bobby Valentine told us that one reason he struggled because he doesn't throw that fastball in.
Now Jody Reed. He takes a strike. Reed and Luis Rivera have become the Red Sox double play combination. This is the 13th consecutive game in which Reed has been the starter at second, and Luis Rivera has been the starter at short. That sent Marty Barrett to the bench. Count of 0-2 now to Reed. That didn't make Marty Barrett very happy. He has had some discussions with Red Sox general manager Lou Gorman about the possibility of a trade, and Lou Gorman has asked around, but thus far there are no takers.
Well, all ball clubs, they want to get younger, and that's what they're doing with Luis Rivera and with Jody Reed. They're getting younger, better defense. Marty Barrett always caught everything that was hit right to him, but not limited a little bit with range. So Boston's making a move for youth, and Marty getting a little up in age. Probably be moved before long.
There's a called strike 3. Witt paints the outside corner. Reed caught looking. He was not in full agreement with home plate umpire Greg Kosk. Once again, let's check in with John Saunders.
And to Olympic Stadium in Montreal. Ed Witt into Tim Wallach with 2 aboard, and this one gets out of there in a hurry. Hyundai is the same in French or English. 3-0 as Raines and Martinez were aboard. Let's get back to Sean and Ray.
Here it's 1-0 Texas. The Red Sox with Wade Boggs at first and 1 out in the home half of the first, and the batter is Mike Greenwell. Inside corner just below the belt. Strike 1 to Mike, who checks in at 244. This is the 5th game of this Red Sox homestand, and Greenwell's average has come up over the previous 4 games. He started this homestand at 217. Mike has 2 home runs. They came in the same game. Oakland, the visitors here at Fenway, on April 27th, when Greenwell went deep twice. Not a good Mike Greenwell swing, and he knows it. 1 ball, 1 strike. Eight for 18 lifetime against Bobby Witt is Mike Greenwell, who has also been the subject of some trade rumors. There are all kinds of rumors swirling around this ballpark tonight. Apparently the Texas Rangers are close to making some sort of a deal, although Bobby Valentine was very tight-lipped about it. The 4-6-3 double play ends the inning. Franco to Houston to Palmeiro. That's all for Boston in the first. After one at Fenway, it's the Rangers 1 and the Red Sox nothing.
At Tiger Stadium in Detroit, the Tigers trying to win their 8th consecutive game. Rich Dotson of the Kansas City Royals trying to win his first of the year. Third batter, he hasn't gotten anybody out yet. Lou Whitaker, a 3-run home run, and it was way back off the facade. You see it come down. Tigers trying to make it 8 in a row. Let's get back to you.
And the Tigers very quickly moving up the American League East ladder. They're just 5.5 games behind front-running Milwaukee starting tonight. Dana Kicker's first pitch of the second drilled into left center field by Gino Petralli. 3 hits now for the Rangers. The throw got past both Rivera and Reed, but Kicker backed it up at the mound. And Petralli, who came in at 247, is the lead man at first for Texas in the second.
Well, Bobby's got to be excited about that. They had 3 hits all of last night, Sean. So here we are in the top of the second. They already have 3 hits. It's almost like an explosion for them.
They had 2 of those hits in the first inning and only 1 thereafter. A slider in for a strike to Mike Stanley. He's the third baseman again tonight. He also started last night's game for the Rangers with Steve Buechele on the disabled list. He has a fractured bone in his right wrist. And Scott Coolbaugh, who was called up from the minors, hasn't done the job either at the plate or in the field. Stanley tried to bunt and offered at it, even though the pitch was way outside. And the count is now no balls and 2 strikes.
I asked Bobby about Scott Coolbaugh, and he just said that he had begun to struggle a little bit, and he just didn't want him to press too much, so he's just giving him a breather. They feel that Scott Coolbaugh is an outstanding young ball player, but give Mike Stanley an opportunity to get some at-bats.
Low and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1 ball rather and 2 strikes. With nobody out, Petralli at first. Top of the second, 1-0 Texas. Rangers scored in the first inning on a 1-out single by Jack Doherty. Kicker's throw to first went pie heat. Doherty took second, and he scored on a single by Rafael Palmeiro. Still a ball and 2 strikes to Mike Stanley. Sean McDonough with Ray Knight at Fenway Park in Boston. We hope you're enjoying this unique Tuesday ESPN baseball doubleheader. The Mets and Dodgers got us started. Usually it's a West Coast game following our 7:30 Eastern time start on Tuesday nights.
Well, I know Chris Berman had to be happy on having to get on camera. He talked to me every night at ESPN studios about never having an on-camera appearance because our games are always running long or rain or something like that.
Chris said he was going to do everything he could to make sure that his game this afternoon went extra long to prevent us from making the pertinent points at the start of the telecast. 2-2 pitch is inside. Stanley has battled from 0-2 to a full count. Like so many of the Rangers, Mike Stanley is also struggling. 3 for his last 24. His average has fallen from 250 to its current level of 182. He's not driven in a run in 18 games. The runner goes. The pitch is strike 3, and Pena has him by a mile. Petralli knew he was a dead duck and just stopped a couple of steps short of the bag. It's a strike him out, throw him out double play. 2 outs and the base is now empty.
4. He's lefty, gonna be lefty.
Just a fastball inside. Dana Kicker runs that sinker in. Ball looks like it kind of hung in there. Petralli, not known for his speeds, out by about 15 feet.
First pitch to Cecil Espy is a strike. Espy has just 1 hit this season in 23 at-bats, and he's quickly behind in the count here, 0-2. Tony Pena, by the way, has now thrown out 14 of 30 attempting base stealers. That's 46.7%. Lined right at the second baseman, Jody Reed, and that ends the inning. After an inning and a half at Fenway Park, the visiting Rangers have a 1-0 lead. Bobby Witt getting ready to go to work in the second. His record is just 1-5 this season. And before tonight's game, Ray Knight asked pitching coach Tom House about Bobby Witt.
His last 3 starts have been quality starts for me. He had no luck in Baltimore the other night. I think he tied a major league record, gave up like 8 straight hits, but they were all bloops and broken bats, and one of those things you couldn't do in BP if you tried. I honestly feel that this is going to be a turn the corner year for Bobby Witt. He's physically healthy. He's got 4 years of experience in, and it's about time for him to start winning ball games.
And Witt is pitching in what is now a light rain falling here at Fenway. Some umbrellas have popped up in the lower boxes. This weather nothing new to Bobby Witt. He grew up in the greater Boston area in Canton, Massachusetts, which is about a 20-minute ride southwest of Boston. Among his close friends and teammates growing up, a couple of the sons of Haywood Sullivan, one of the leading executives in baseball and a general partner of the Boston Red Sox. Of course, Haywood Sullivan's son Mark, one of Bobby Witt's friends growing up in Canton, Massachusetts. Mark Sullivan was a catcher for a while with the Boston Red Sox. Tom Brunansky at the plate. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. Since coming over to the Red Sox, he has hit .308 with 3 home runs and 11 RBI. You saw SportsCenter before tonight's game. You know that 7 of those 11 RBI came Saturday against the Minnesota Twins when Brunansky went 5 for 5, including 2 home runs. This time he goes to the gap in left center. Cecil Espy over to play it quickly, holding Brunansky to a long base hit, the first Boston hit of the ball game. He's now hit in 4 straight games for the Red Sox.
Well, that's Bobby Witt's problem. 2-2 there. He throws a fastball right down the middle of the plate, about belt high. And as we've talked so often thus far this season, you throw the ball over the heart of the plate, men are going to hit it hard. And that's Bobby Witt's problem. He has a tendency not to be able to locate and make those good quality pitches.
He's pitching on 3 days rest, but because he only went 4 1/3 last time out, and because he is so big and strong, Valentine and House don't expect that to be much of a factor tonight as you look at the numbers for Dwight Evans. A ball low and away.
Sean, in 1988, when I was with the Detroit Tigers, Sparky DH'd me in Arlington against Bobby Witt. And I was 0 for 4 that night, and on that particular night, he 3-hit the Tigers. On that particular night, he had as good a stuff as anybody I'd faced, probably other than Nolan Ryan. His fastball was clocked at 94, 95 that night. His slider was biting, and he was locating it. He was working on a changeup, and he just showed it enough to make you aware of it. But he is the type of pitcher with the stuff to be a quality major league starter.
Brunansky was running on the pitch to Evans, fouled straight back. 1 ball and 1 strike, because he does have that kind of ability when he is on the good live fastball, the hard slider. The Rangers are reluctant to give up on it, but eventually it comes down to a matter of winning and losing, and Bobby Witt has not been able to be a consistent winner because he hasn't been able to get the most out of his ability on a consistent basis. There's been some trade talk involving Bobby Witt's name, including with the Boston Red Sox. One trade rumor earlier this week had Wes Gardner perhaps heading to the Texas Rangers. But when a guy has some of the physical abilities that Bobby Witt has, you just don't want to give up on him too early.
You can't give up on a guy like this. He's just 26 years old and possesses one of the top 4 or 5 best fastballs in all of baseball. I mean, we're talking a guy with tremendous ability. The key word is maturing, and that's what Tom House and Valentine both told us in spring training. Bobby needs to mature, learn a little bit more about pitching, but he has to go out there and realize that each pitch he doesn't live and die on. That you make the pitch and then you take the results. You don't think about the results before you throw the pitch.
His 2-1 offering to Evans, well hit to right center field. Espy on the run, and he makes the sliding catch. Nice play by Cecil Espy for the first out of the inning, and Brunansky has to return to first. He's playing tonight for the slumping Gary Pettis, the multiple Gold Glove winner. That was a Gary Pettis type play.
Sure was. Cecil Gillespie possesses great speed. The only difference between he and Gary Pettis basically is that Gary Pettis goes back on the ball a little bit better, and that supposedly Gary Pettis was going to get on base much more for him this year, but they had identical 257 averages last year, and a lot of people say, why make the trade? Asking Bobby Valentine, he felt that Gary Pettis was the best defensive center fielder in baseball and that he would get on base more.
And to either side of Espy on a normal night with Sierra in right and Incaviglia in left, the Rangers could use the help defensively in the outfield. That was a big key to last night's game. A couple of balls falling in front of Incaviglia and Sierra that would have been caught by a lot of other outfielders. Tony Pena at the plate. .298 is his average in his first season with the Red Sox. 3 home runs, and he has driven in 17. He's also working on a 4-game hit streak. One ball, one strike. In the words of Joe Morgan, Tony Pena has been everything the Red Sox hoped he would be when they signed him as a free agent and more. And when you look at the numbers, there really isn't anything to pick on if you were trying to find a negative to Tony Pena's season. You saw his offensive statistics, very solid. He's thrown out close to 50% of would-be base stealers, and he's provided so much leadership, not only for the pitching staff, but also for a team that has had a number of clubhouse problems in the past. He's an enthusiastic player who won't allow a clubhouse to get down.
Well, he's always had that enthusiasm and has always been a person that was a giver. A lot of times people think that you lead. What makes a leader? And I think the biggest thing is that you're a giver. You're willing to listen to people, and you're not selfish, and you become a part of everybody's lives. So many guys form their cliques and they have their 1 or 2 friends on a ball club. And the leaders that I've known have been guys that have gotten into other players' minds. If they see them struggling, they're not afraid to go up to them and say, hey, let's go out to dinner tonight. And Tony Pena is that type of guy.
And I'm not saying this just because you're sitting next to me, but I've talked to a lot of people who follow the New York Mets who think one of the reasons they haven't won anything since 1986 is that you, Ray Knight, were not there, and that you were an important part of the chemistry of that team, that you were one of those guys who would walk around the clubhouse and try to pick up a guy who was down.
Well, Sean, you know what happens? Usually you have maybe 2 or 3 problem players on a ball club, or people with large egos. In that situation there, they had Darryl Strawberry, Keith Hernandez, and Gary Carter. They happened to all be real good friends of mine. And anytime that there was an ego problem or a problem with one of the guys, and I remember Gary Carter calling, Darryl calling Gary Camera Carter because he'd always walk in front of the camera and things like that. And I would just say, hey, Darryl, you don't need to say that. That may cause a problem. As a result, things were quelched before they festered. And it was only because those 3 guys were the main egos on the ball club and the main talent. And I was able to be the liaison between them.
Strike 3. Tony Pena is the second strikeout victim of Bobby Witt. Once again, here's John Saunders.
The Twins and the Orioles in a frightening moment here. Dan Gladden at the plate against Ballard just fists this one towards the stands. Watch Mickey Tettleton. Looks like he catches a spike, flies through the air, and lands on his ribs on the rail. He was okay, did stay in the game. It's 1-1 in the second. Back to Sean and Ray.
Mickey Tettleton, after a very slow start this year, starting to pick it up for the Baltimore Orioles. They need him in there. They're still last in the league in team batting average, and right near the bottom in runs scored as well. Only Chicago and Kansas City have scored fewer runs than the Baltimore Orioles in the American League. Ellis Burks, he got off to a very slow start this season, but his average has climbed to 285. He has 3 homers. The third came last night. The first run the Red Sox got off Brian Bohannon was a Burks home run to the screen and left, and Valentine was very encouraged, as he should have been, by the performance of the 21-year-old rookie left-hander Brian Bohannon last night. Had the Rangers scored a few more runs, he would have been a winner. Low and away, 2 balls, 1 strike. Texas leads 1-0. We're in the bottom of the second. 2 outs, and Tom Brunansky is still standing at first base. He got there with a leadoff single. Chopped to short. Houston flips to Franco for the force on Brunansky, and that ends the inning. After 2 at Fenway Park in Boston, it's Texas 1 and Boston nothing.
Back to Fenway Park in just a moment, but first let's check scores from around the American League. Spires with the game-winning hit in the 9th as Seattle loses to Milwaukee. Paul Molitor also had a 2-run double. A wild game as you expected at Sky Dome. Oakland and Toronto. Canseco with a grand slam. Kelly Gruber had a pair of home runs. Chicago on the Sammy Sosa home run leads New York. Minnesota and Baltimore. The Orioles lead at 2-1. Joe Ursulak has just hit a home run. Let's get back to Sean and Ray.
And the Boston Red Sox need to win here tonight to keep pace with the first place Milwaukee Brewers. Red Sox begin tonight's game 2 games behind Milwaukee. With the Brewers win this afternoon, they can get back to a game and a half out if they can defeat the Rangers. Jeff Houston started the ball game by grounding out to Wade Boggs at third. He takes Dana Kicker's first pitch of the third for strike 1. It's the top of the order for Texas. Houston, Doherty, and Palmeiro. Lobbed into right field. Tom Brunansky is there to make the catch. The light rain we had for a few moments has stopped. It's been a miserable stretch of weather over the last 5 days here in New England. It was 46 degrees at game time last night for these two teams, and 51 was the game time temperature tonight, with the breeze blowing straight in from center field. Jack Doherty looks at a strike. He has scored the only run of the ball game. He singled to right with 1 out in the first, took second on a throwing error by the pitcher Dana Kicker, and scored on a single to right by Rafael Palmeiro. Oh, 0-2 to Doherty.
Going to go with the breaking ball. Hung it.
And it's hammered into right field. That'll cost Dana Kicker some money in the Red Sox kangaroo court. An 0-2 base hit for Jack Doherty. And he's 2 for 2. He has 2 of the 4 hits.
Well, Jack Doherty always has been a hitter, stays back. See how he recoils on that back leg, keeps his weight back, distributes it forward when the ball comes, and he gets back on the backside when he finishes a swing.
Fouled straight back by Palmeiro for strike 1. Rafael extended his hitting streak to 8 games with a single to right that scored Doherty from second in the first inning.
We mentioned how Rafael was hitting the ball this year harder. He's already has 7 doubles and 2 triples and 4 home runs. Only 8 home runs all of last year. So he's really hitting the ball hard this year with power.
Ground ball, tailor-made double play ball. Reed to Rivera on to first, and that gets Dana Kicker out of the inning. Second double play turned by the Red Sox in as many innings. After 2.5, it's the Rangers 1 and the Red Sox nothing.
ESPN Baseball Tonight, brought to you by Pizza Hut, home of pan pizza that's winning the hearts of America. Pizza Hut, making it great.
On to the bottom of the third. Texas leads Boston 1-0. Rangers scoring a run in the first inning, capitalizing on an error by the pitcher, Dana Kicker. Danny Heap leads off against Bobby Witt and takes strike 1. Heap's in there tonight for Carlos Quintana, who has been the regular Boston first baseman of late. Quintana's in a 1-for-21 drought, so Heap, who, as you can tell by those numbers you just saw, has seen limited playing time, gets the call at first base. His first start at first base this year. Red Sox started the year at first base holding open auditions, basically. Billy Joe Robideau saw some action there before he went to the disabled list with shoulder surgery. There's a chopper off the plate. Miscommunication. Palmeiro finally made the play to Witt. And Danny Heap is retired for the first out of the inning. Palmeiro couldn't tell what Witt was going to do.
What you do in this situation, the pitcher just goes on toward the ball. If he can't get the ball, he goes to first base, and then the first baseman comes to the ball. And if the pitcher misses it, he gets it. So it's a very simple play. You work on it in spring training called pitcher's fielding practice, PFP. And although there was a little indecision on Palmeiro there, it's not that tough a play.
Just to finish what we were saying, Bill Buckner has also seen action at first base for the Red Sox, but Carlos Quintana has been the man lately until he got into this 1-for-21 drought. He has just a night off, and Danny Heap is in there. Luis Rivera, a line drive caught by the center fielder, Cecil Espy. 2 quick outs in the Boston third. Once again, here's John Saunders.
The Twins and the Orioles from Memorial Stadium. Kevin Tapani looking for his 6th win to Joe Orsulak, who takes care of the inside pitch, pulls it out to right field. The solo home run gives Baltimore a 2-1 lead. That's where they stand in the third. Back to Sean and Ray.
Wade Boggs with 2 outs and the bases empty. He drew a walk starting the Red Sox first. Bobby Witt comes right down the middle with strike 1. Boggs has already struck out 19 times this year in 133 at bats. He said he can't recall when he has swung and missed so many pitches. He said he feels as though he's seeing the ball well rather than fouling off tough pitches as he normally would, or even putting a few of them in play. He's been swinging and missing and striking out regularly this season, particularly of late. Out of play down the left field line.
It's interesting to hear you say that, Sean. He's just 31 years old. And I know that when I started, as you see the monitor there, as Boggs is the 4th all-time leading hitter. When I started getting a little older, what I did, never being the hitter that Wade Boggs was, I would foul off the pitches that I would normally put on in play. Usually happened when I was about 34 years old. And if Wade started to swing through pitches that he normally fouled off, that could be a sign that his bat's getting a little slower. And about 30, they talk about being in your prime about 31 or 32, and it seems to me that the guys that have their greatest years are like 26 to 30. And certainly 31 and 32 is still very young, and I'm certainly not saying that Wade is about to get to that point. But I just wonder how long you can hit 350.
Started this year at 352. So his average from a career standpoint has dropped 2 points this year. Witt just missed with the backdoor breaking ball, and the count is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
And a lot of guys, that pitch would have been called a strike on. Wade Boggs has established in these umpires' mind that has a tremendous eye, a lot like Joe Morgan did, Pete Rose did, and they get calls like that. But that was a very tough pitch to take.
As was that one. Boggs walks for the 2nd time in as many plate appearances. He's received both walks thrown by Bobby Witt tonight. A runner at first for Boston with 2 outs in the third. 1-0 Texas. Boggs hit .330 last year, well below his lifetime average. But last year he had some off the field problems that have been well documented to deal with. He said over this past weekend, this year there are no excuses. If he doesn't return to his usual form, Wade says he'll have nobody to blame but himself.
Well, my good friend John McNamara, as you see Joe Morgan there, John McNamara said that, and he's been around a long time, that he never saw anyone that hit the ball as sharply and as consistently as Wade Boggs. You think about a 350 lifetime average and Pete Rose having a 303 lifetime average, and Pete hitting the ball harder than anybody that I played with consistently.
Well, Boggs says that's what you try to do. As you look at Jody Reed, who struck out looking his first time up, said if you go up there and you hit the ball hard every time, that's all you can ask for. Hopefully they'll fall in for you, but if they don't, as long as you made solid contact every time up, you have to feel as though you've had a good night at the plate. Reed goes toward the left field corner. Long run for Doherty. He can't get to it. Boggs into third. He'll stop there. And Jody Reed is into second with a double.
Jody Reed, just look at his head stay on that baseball. That looks a lot like Walt Reniak. Kept his head right on that ball. Fastball inside. Just drove it down that left field corner.
Jody had 42 doubles last year. That was tied for third in the major leagues. And the man one base ahead of him led the majors in doubles last season. Boggs had 51.
Bobby Valentine just visiting Bobby Witt. You can bet he's telling him right here, in a situation with Mike Greenwell up, pitch this man careful. You have first base open, 2 outs, even though Bernansky's on deck. Rather throw to a right-handed hitter usually in this situation, although Bruno laced a single out there to left center field his last time up.
Greenwell looks at ball one high. He bounced into a 4-6-3 double play, ending the first. Texas leads 1-0. The Red Sox are threatening with 2 men in scoring position and 2 outs in the third. Fouled out of play, third base side. Greenwell has been an RBI producer over the course of his brief major league career, but he's had all kinds of trouble this year with men in scoring position. He's 3 for 37. He was 0 for 25 this year before he had a hit with a man in scoring position.
Well, driving in runs is just like anything else. You start to struggle a little bit, and then you start to put pressure on yourself and start swinging at bad pitches. Just like when you hit line drives for outs, a lot of times you change your stroke and your approach. You just get in deeper and deeper.
In the air to left field, Doherty started back. He's under it now, and he makes the catch. Red Sox leave 2 runners in scoring position, and Greenwell continues to have trouble with men in scoring position. He hears some boos from the Fenway faithful. 1-0 Texas after 3. With the American League trailing in the bottom of the 9th, Red Sox All-Star Ted Williams steps to the plate to face Claude Passot. The future Red Sox legend hits the game-winning home run. And despite leading the league in hitting that year with a .406 average, this home run made a lasting impression.
Yes, hitting that home run in the All-Star game in the 9th inning was certainly a big thrill, and I'll never forget the rest of my life.
That home run in 1941 gave the American League a 7-5 win in the All-Star game. Ted Williams, number 9, one of 4 numbers to be retired by the Boston Red Sox. Joe Cronin, number 4, Bobby Doerr, number 1, and Carl Yastrzemski, number 8. And all 4 of those gentlemen have been enshrined in baseball's Hall of Fame. Dana Kicker sees Ruben Sierra line his first pitch of the 4th into center field. Sierra's now 1 for 1. He walked his first time up.
Ruben Sierra, watch how he lifts his leg for that timing. He lifts that leg up, cocks that bat, goes hands are back, kicks the leg out, glides into the ball, and just lets it explode.
How does that help your timing?
Well, it is his timing mechanism. A lot of guys use their knee, or some guys use their hands, some guys turn their shoulder, but Ruben Sierra, like Kirby Puckett, uses that front leg to get himself started.
I would imagine, since you have one leg in the air, it also makes you keep your weight back on the leg that's on the ground. Obviously, you can't be keeping your weight rather on the leg that's in midair.
It sure does. It transfers that leg back. Remember seeing pictures of Mel Ott, but when I went to Japan in 1978 with the Reds, I got to see Sadahara O in person, and it was amazing. He'd lift that leg up, and he'd seem to just pause it there on off-speed pitches, and then put it down a little quicker on fastballs. But the amazing thing about it was the balance that he had on his left side.
Julio Franco at the plate. He's quickly in the hole. No balls and 2 strikes. Julio rounded to short in the first inning. He was the first Ranger voted by the fans to start an All-Star game last year. and he hangs alive at no balls and 2 strikes.
Well, Julio has that really unorthodox batting style. He tends to wrap that bat back over his head, 2 fingers off the bat. He uses a 36-inch bat, which is about an inch and a half longer than most major league hitters, 35 ounces. Tremendously strong hands. Look, he has 2 fingers, almost 3 fingers over the end of that bat.
And he delivers a base hit into center field. They're starting to run at Dana Kicker here in the 4th. 2 men on with nobody out. Back-to-back singles by Sierra and Franco.
Well, you can't teach this swing. That bat has a tremendously long way to go from barrel to ball. But with those kind of hands, just look how that bat flies and the bat speed that's generated. How he goes down through the swing, staying back, and that tremendous torque.
Have to have some strength to be able to do what he does.
Well, we saw him in Port Charlotte lifting weights, and he has as strong a set of forearms as I've seen.
Harold Baines goes toward the wall and left. Greenwell with the decoy. Here comes Sierra around to score. The throw comes into second, and Texas has a 2-0 lead. 3 straight hits, and all of them well hit for the Rangers here in the 4th inning. Joe Morgan has Dennis Lamp throwing again in his bullpen.
Well, all 3 pitches have been right over the plate. You see Baines lift that leg also. Another fastball out over the plate, which is like going to heaven for a left-handed hitter. He just drives it off the top of that left field wall. Baines running full speed, slows up, then starts running again.
And Harold breaks out of an 0 for 12 drought with that single to left. The RBI, his 15th of the year, and Red Sox pitching coach Bill Fisher is on his way to the mound to speak with Dana Kicker. Kicker, a great story. He candidly admits that the expanded rosters to start the season played a big role in his making the Red Sox opening day pitching staff. He's been in the Red Sox organization since 1983, and he wasn't on the 40-man roster at all until this past offseason, when he was contemplating retiring from baseball without ever reaching the major leagues. But his wife encouraged him to stick with it. He turned down some job opportunities outside of baseball, and here he is in the major leagues for the first time. Lamp throwing for the 2nd time tonight. Dana Kicker also is the possessor of a sub 500 lifetime record in the minors, 59 and 66, his lifetime minor league record, but he never once played on a winning team in the Red Sox minor league system, and he said that's one of the other nice things about this year. He's playing for a winner. Gino Petralli. Dana Kicker had gone 13 pitches in a row without throwing a ball. He had thrown 13 straight strikes, and they were starting to tee off on the most recent strikes. That's ball 1 to Petralli.
Well, you can bet that hitters notice that. They see a guy starting to struggle early and then starting to throw the ball around the strike zone, and they go up there hacking, boy.
That's fouled off the body of Gino Petralli. 1 ball and 1 strike. Runners at the corners, still nobody out for Texas. Julio Franco aboard at 3rd, and Harold Baines at 1st. 2-0 Texas, top of the 4th. And the rain has picked up in intensity again. Off-speed pitch outside. 2-1 to Petralli. We talked about Dana Kicker pondering retirement. Gino Petralli was out of baseball when the Rangers called him back. He was working loading soda onto trucks in Sacramento, California. The Rangers needed a catcher at AAA. He went to Oklahoma City for 2 weeks. Due to some injuries to the Ranger catching corps, he was called up to the major leagues, and he has not returned to the minors since then. That's heading for right center field. Franco trots home from third. Petralli into second, and he is out. It's a single for Petralli. He's gunned down by Brunansky. Franco scored to make it 3-0. The RBI for Petralli, his 7th of the year, and that also will mark the departure of Dana Kicker as Joe Morgan is at the mound and Dennis Lamp will be summoned from the bullpen.
Brunansky known as having a good arm. Petralli known not to be able to run very well. Makes a high throw, but he definitely got the tag down.
And Petralli the first out of the inning. Baines took third on the play. 2 runs here in the 4th on 4 straight hits for Texas. Dennis Lamp comes into a 3-0 ball game. Texas leads 3-0. Dana Kicker making his first appearance in 2 weeks, lasted 3 1/3 innings, and he's given way for Dennis Lamp. Red Sox starting pitching continues to be a concern. Roger Clemens and Mike Boddicker have combined for a 12-5 record and a 3.20 ERA. But all of the other starters Joe Morgan has used have combined for an 8-11 record and an ERA of 4.24. Greg Harris has done a very nice job. Normally a reliever. He stepped into the starting role and fared well. They need John Dobson to come back off the disabled list. He's been pitching rehab down in Pawtucket and has not fared very well. He's still bothered by elbow trouble as you look at the numbers on Dennis Lamp.
Yeah, Dennis Lamp, sinker slider ball, basically 2-pitch pitcher. He drops down on occasion. Real good movement with his fastball on the inner part of the plate. Good control. 37 years old.
Infield in behind him. They pitch out on the first pitch to Stanley, thinking perhaps the squeeze would be on. And it was not. Stanley looked at a called third strike in the 2nd. He was the only strikeout victim of Dana Kicker. Outside, 2-0. Cecil Espy will follow Mike Stanley.
Well, knowing that Dennis Lamp is a sinker ball, slider ball pitcher, as a hitter here in this situation, you want to get a pitch that you know you can handle. Mike Stanley likes the ball up and out over the plate, so you don't want to get caught in the trap of looking for that sinker down and in, because you'll just pound that ground ball to third base or shortstop.
There's a strike. The last 3 runners Dennis Lamp has inherited have scored. And for the season, 9 of 17 inherited runners have scored for Dennis Lamp. He inherits Harold Baines at third with 1 out. 3-0 Texas in the top of the 4th. Straight back to the screen. 2-2 now to Mike Stanley.
Well, that's the type of pitch I was talking about that I've begun to miss late in my career. When you have a guy 2-1 and he throws you a slider up out over the plate, you better put it in play in this situation. Mike Stanley argued the strike earlier. That's the first thing that always seemed to go with me when I didn't play a lot, was knowing what the strike zone was. I had a tendency to think everything was a ball.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Stanley's 3 for his last 25 now. We can go up and down the order as we have, and there aren't too many Rangers who are warm at the plate these days. Matter of fact, coming into tonight, the Rangers had just 3 hits in each of their last 2 games. Over the last 2 games, 6 for 57 as a team, a 105 team batting average. But they've already come up with 3 runs tonight on 8 hits. Stanley now with a full count against Dennis Lamp. That'll get the run in. Ellis Burks tracking it down in deep right center. Baines can walk home from third. 4-0 Texas. Sacrifice fly and an RBI for Mike Stanley, his 6th of the year.
Just talked about what you have to do as a hitter. This is a fastball that runs in, but Stanley out over the plate a little bit, but Stanley inside outs the ball and gets it in the air and outfield and does his job.
So now the base is empty behind Dennis Lamp. Cecil Espy line to the second baseman Reed, his first time up. Strike over the outside part of the plate. Chopped down to Heap at first. Lamp races to cover, and he just did win the race to the base with Cecil Espy. 3 runs on 4 hits in the 4th for Texas. After 3.5, it's the Rangers 4 and the Red Sox nothing. Sean McDonough with Ray Knight back at historic Fenway Park. Boston Red Sox have been playing their home games here since 1912. And they trail tonight 4-0 as Tom Brunansky leads off in the bottom of the 4th against Bobby Witt. Slider low and away. Ball 1 to Brunansky, who has one of the 2 Boston hits. He lined a solid single to the gap in left center, his first time up. He goes toward the screen and left. Way back, and that ball is gone. Over everything in left center field. Tom Brunansky's 4th home run as a member of the Red Sox, his 3rd in Fenway in 5 games, and it's now 4-1 Texas.
Well, as we mentioned at the start of the show, 8 straight seasons with 20-plus home runs. Fastball right down the middle, and he just lost that one.
Dwight Evans, the batter. Strike 1 the count. Low and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Evans out on a fly ball to center, his first time up. He's trying to extend the hitting streak to 9 games. He goes out of play to the right side. Evans hasn't homered since May 5th. That home run in Oakland was number 370, which ties him for 32nd on Major League Baseball's all-time home run list with Gil Hodges. Rocky Colavito is next at number 31 with 374 lifetime homers. 2-2 now to Evans.
We mentioned Bruno with his streak of home runs. Dwight Evans had 9 straight 20-plus home run seasons, and 11 out of the last 12 years he's hit 20-plus home runs.
He's trying to make it 10 straight years. And he's in a full count with Bobby Witt. Ball 4, high and away. Once again, here's John Saunders.
The White Sox and the Yankees, and the Sox are the surprise team, and one of the reasons why they get help tonight from the Yankees. LaPointe to Scott Fletcher, slaps this one to right. Jesse Barfield, with one of the best arms in the game, shows a little too much power, overthrows everyone. Carlton Fisk scores, but Bob Guerin with a 2-run homer has tied the game in the 4th. Let's get back to Sean and Ray.
Well, John was right. Jesse Barfield does have one of the best arms in the game, and he sort of showed it on that throw to the plate. Certainly showed the strength of his arm, not necessarily the accuracy on that highlight. Bobby Valentine, a pep talk for Bobby Witt. Leadoff home run by Brunansky, then a walk to Evans. Texas leads 4-1. A walk to Evans, the 3rd thrown by Witt. And here's Tony Pena, who struck out swinging his first time up.
And Sean, Bobby's already up to 54 pitches thrown so far this game. We're just in the bottom of the 4th.
Pena right back to the mound. Witt to Houston, the shortstop, on to first for the 1-6-3 double play.
12. Burke.
2 outs and the bases now empty in the fourth. 4-1 Texas. We'll see the New York Yankees and Jesse Barfield against the Minnesota Twins tomorrow night on ESPN's Baseball Tonight with Gary Thorne, Norm Hitzges, and Mike Lupica. Others of you will see Pittsburgh and Houston. Minnesota Twins just left Fenway Park, where they took 2 out of 3 over the weekend from the Red Sox. Ellis Burks, the batter. Ball 1 high and away to Burks, who grounded to short his first time up.
I think, Sean, we'll see a little bit of what we're talking about maturity here. In the past, Bobby Witt, when he would struggle or something would happen, he would tend to lose his concentration for a little while. Bruno hit the home run, then he went to 3-2, walked Evans, and he comes back and gets a double play. And that's a sign of a man settling down and maybe have lost his concentration just for a moment there, but able to regain his composure quickly enough to possibly get himself out of a big inning.
His 1-1 pitch to Burks fouled straight back to the screen and apparently very close to our microphone down there. Bobby Witt has to be grateful for the run support tonight. In his 6 starts prior to tonight, the Rangers had scored a total of 7 runs, and they had been shut out 3 times over Witt's previous 6 starts. But they have 4 runs on the board for him tonight, and Witt's working with a 4-1 lead. And Burks hangs alive at 1-2.
Well, Bobby Valentine talked about, you see Davey Lopes there, along with Dave Oliver, Tom Robson, and Bobby V.
What was he talking about? The maturity of Bobby Witt, perhaps. You were starting to mention that Bobby Valentine rather had been talking about something to you.
Oh, the maturity of Bobby Witt, and how Bobby Witt had to learn to pitch inside. And sometimes pitchers fall in love with throwing the ball away.
Check swing at strike 3. 3 strikeouts for Bobby Witt. That ends the inning. The Red Sox pick up a run on the home run by Brunansky after 4-1 Rangers.
ESPN Baseball Tonight, brought to you by Mitsubishi, bringing you a full line of award-winning automobiles. See them all at your Mitsubishi Motors dealer. And by Tempstar. Call for a free guide to air conditioning.
Sean McDonough with Ray Knight back at Fenway Park in Boston. Line score through 4 innings for the Rangers. 4 runs on 8 hits for the Red Sox. 1 run on 3 hits. The 1 run coming on the home run by Brunansky, and the 1 error charged to the starter, Dana Kicker. Kicker tonight worked 3 1/3 innings, allowed 4 runs all earned on 8 hits. He walked 1 and struck out 1 while he was in there. He's the pitcher of record as Dennis Lamp begins his first full inning with a strike to Jeff Houston, who showed bunt. Jeff grounded to third in the first inning and lined to right in the third. Ray, we were the announcers for an ESPN telecast of a Texas exhibition game in spring training, and while we were in Port Charlotte, Bobby Valentine told us that Jeff Kunkel was going to be the starting shortstop. They felt like he had a lot of pop in his bat and made some great plays in the field, although he would from time to time butcher a routine play. But Jeff Houston, since he's had the opportunity to play, has played so well, they can't get him out of there.
Well, Bobby said he recognized the situation so well. He plays the entire 3 hours that he comes to the ballpark. He plays on the field, but he watches everything in the dugout. He basically just pays attention to the game, loves the game. He still likes Kunkel, but this kid has just played his way into the lineup. Very tough to get a guy hitting .330 and making all the plays out of there.
And as we mentioned, his first time up, Bobby Valentine says Jeff Houston has been the Rangers' best player to this point this year.
You know, it's a funny thing, too. He was not drafted. He was signed as an undrafted free agent by Bob Olis in 1985 after attending University of Wyoming.
That's in the air to center field. Burks drifts back. 1 out.
I'm thinking of Bob Olis. When I played my first year in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, he managed the Watertown Ball Club, which was an Expo ball club. It seems like a long time ago, 1971.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now Jack Doherty. 2 singles tonight for Doherty, both to right field, and he scored a run in the first. Lamp misses inside.
You had to be what, 8 or 9 years old in 1971?
I would have been 9. I was already going bald then, though.
Yeah. You were born bald and never put any on.
That's right. Game 2 of tonight's ESPN Baseball Tonight doubleheader from Fenway Park in Boston. Game 2 of a 2-game series between the Red Sox and Rangers. The Rangers aiming for a split, and they lead 4-1 as they bat in the top of the 5th with 1 out and the bases empty. Dennis Lamp's 1-1 to Jack Doherty, a little bit low. 2 balls and a strike. Lamp, a native of California, but his wife is from the Boston area. They now make their home in suburban Cohasset, Massachusetts. On a staff that has trouble with starting pitchers, Dennis Lamp becomes a very valuable man, and he's performed very well in long relief. Didn't perform as well trying to catch up to that ground ball. And Jack Doherty has his 3rd hit in as many at-bats tonight, and even he has to smile. Dennis Lamp just couldn't catch up to it. It got a little bit ahead of him, and it stayed just that far ahead of him.
Well, we mentioned this play before. What the pitcher does is he goes full speed to first base. If he doesn't make the play, he just keeps going to first base, but he got the wrong angle on the ball. Danny Heap misread him, and as a result, it was a base hit. But the first baseman goes to the ball, the pitcher goes to the ball. The pitcher misses it, he runs on the first base and covers. If he catches it, he runs on the first base and tags it back.
9 hits already for the Rangers. 1 out in the 5th. Pitch out. Nothing doing.
I have to chuckle. You don't start running it all over the ball field if you're the pitcher like Dennis Lamp did.
Palmeiro singled in a run in the first, grounded into a double play in the 3rd. I think if Joe Morgan was considering using Dennis Lamp as a pinch runner in some ball game, that thought just vanished from his mind. Watching Dennis try to track it down. Joe Morgan can't say enough nice things about Lamp, who had a 2.32 ERA for this club last year in 42 appearances. He kept the Red Sox in a lot of ball games. The Bostonians didn't often take advantage of that. Last year, right-handed hitters hit just 193 against Dennis Lamp. That was the best mark of any pitcher on the Red Sox staff, including Roger Clemens. That's out of play. Well back into the stands and left.
We mentioned Rafael Palmeiro last year lunging. Look how he shifts his weight back. Everything's set. His hands are back. A little weight shift forward, but see how he stays back on that ball? His weight's not forward. He's not getting over that right leg, and that's why he's hitting the ball so well.
Count is a ball and 2 strikes. Little pop-up. Boggs makes the play. 2 outs. Now back to our Baseball Tonight studio and John Saunders.
The Twins and the Orioles. Mickey Tettleton started the season very poorly, but since he started wearing a Dick Tracy t-shirt, he's been hot, hitting around 500. This home run put the Orioles back in the lead. And this detective has found his stroke. 3-2 in the fifth. Back to Sean and Ray.
Ray, did you ever have any good luck charms? It was Fruit Loops last year for Mickey Tettleton, a Dick Tracy t-shirt this year?
No, I never did. I never believed in all that stuff. I just went up there and tried to see the ball and hit it. Wear the most comfortable underwear that I could find. And the shirt. So many guys, I see guys putting on shirts with holes in it. I remember Junior Kennedy, my former roommate, he wore this one shirt. It had Worth on it. And he wore it and wore that thing out because he was hitting about 285 in 1979 with Cincinnati.
Now, you mean to tell me if you were in the midst of a 10-game hitting streak, you wouldn't go looking for the same undershirt you had beneath your uniform?
I never did because I knew that shirt had nothing to do with it.
You'd have a tough time convincing Junior Kennedy and a lot of other players in Major League Baseball that those sorts of things don't play a role.
Yeah, it's funny, too. When they go in that 0 for 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 slump, they ditch that T-shirt. Poor old shirt.
We could talk all night about just the Boston Red Sox. Wade Boggs, well known as one of the most superstitious players in all of baseball, eating chicken every day. Rob Murphy also has a number of rituals that he goes through. We'll tell you about a few of those if Murphy gets into the ball game tonight for Joe Morgan. 2-2 the count to Sierra.
Well, Ruben again, big leg lift, and he never holds anything back. Swings as hard as he can on every pitch. That's one thing a lot of these Texas Rangers do. Sometimes they have trouble making contact because of that fact.
Strike 3. Lamp drills the fastball on the outside corner. Sierra didn't think so, and he's still hollering at home plate umpire Greg Kost. The strikeout the first for Lamp and the second for Boston pitching. Halfway through the ball game at Fenway Park. It's Texas 4 and Boston 1. Texas leads 4-1 as we go to the bottom of the fifth inning at Fenway Park. Ruben Sierra called out on strikes ending the top of the fifth, and he had to be pulled away by a couple of teammates.
With Dennis Lamp, fastball away, but one thing for sure, when you have 2 strikes, you've got to, even if that ball is an inch or 2 away, you must be able to fight that ball off, foul it off, and go to another pitch. Pitch was just too close to take.
On to the bottom of the fifth now. Danny Heap fouls the first pitch from Bobby Witt away for strike 1. It's been a frustrating year for Danny Heap. He hasn't played very much. This is just the 16th game in which he has appeared, and it's just his 29th at bat of the season. A strike, 1 ball, and 1 strike. That's in sharp contrast to last year when he played in 113 games for the Red Sox in many different roles, and he had his best year offensively. He hit 300, a career high, with 5 home runs and 49 RBI. Played first base, left field, right field, and he DH'd last year for Boston. That's out of play. Into the stands, and in those stands tonight, if you look around closely, you'll find lots of transistor radios, lots of portable television sets, because here in Boston, a great deal of attention, obviously, is focused on the Boston Bruins. Tonight, they're taking on the Edmonton Oilers in Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Finals. John Saunders will keep you up to date with the hockey as the night goes along. Edmonton leads that best-of-7 Stanley Cup Final 2-1, but the Bruins are the primary focus of attention for Boston sports fans these days. And you'll hear roars that won't relate to the baseball game during the night. You'll also hear some groans depending on which team is scoring goals. That's actually been a factor in a couple of games here this year at Fenway as the Bruins have gone through the playoffs. All of a sudden, players will be standing out on the field and not much is happening. Roar goes up in the stands and it startles the players, and it turns out that the Bruins have scored a goal. Outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes to Danny Heap.
You know, we've talked about the cool weather. I think I finally figured it out. It doesn't ever get warm up here until after hockey season's over.
That's right. Unfortunately, that is not true because, as we know, the Bruins have played some games in the fog at Boston Garden. They've had blackouts caused by the strain on the Boston Garden generators because of the heat outside. There's no air conditioning in Boston Garden. Heap still up there with a count of 2-2. He'll be followed by Luis Rivera, and then the top of the order, Wade Boggs, in the bottom of the 5th. That hit Heap off the front foot, and he is hobbling down to first.
The 2, Rivera. Rivera.
Well, Danny just kind of freezes on this ball. He takes a good look at it. It's a slider down and in. Hit him right on that toe, and I bet you, I bet that smarts. He moves his rear end, but he doesn't move his foot.
A little bit of a delayed reaction by Danny.
Well, his feet are probably numb, and it took him a couple of seconds to feel that thing.
Danny's not very fleet of foot anyway. That certainly won't help. Luis Rivera lined to center his first time up. Ball 1 low to Rivera, who's working on a 10-game hitting streak. His career high, a 12-game streak last year in July and August. In the dirt, Petralli thought momentarily that the ball would skip past him, but it was just off his right side. 2-0, and here comes Bobby Valentine again to the mound.
Well, Whit's starting to labor a little bit. Sean, he's throwing that breaking ball. He hit Danny. He's throwing that breaking ball in the dirt. That fastball wasn't even close there.
The National League champion Giants face the red-hot Pirates. Then the Indians take on the world champion Athletics. All in a Friday doubleheader beginning at 7:30 live on ESPN. Just a brief talk for Valentine with Whit, but there is activity in the Texas bullpen. Lefty Jamie Moyer is throwing. Rangers lead 4-1. Red Sox have Heap at first with nobody out in the 5th, and the 2-0 pitch to Rivera is right down the middle. 2 balls, 1 strike. Rivera came over to the Red Sox just prior to the start of last season from Montreal, along with pitcher John Dobson, in a trade that sent Spike Owen and minor league pitcher Dan Gackler to Montreal, a deal that's worked out well for both sides. Rivera with a well-hit fly ball to center, taken in by Espy just in front of the warning track. Heap still at first with 1 out. Rivera's hit it well twice to center field tonight as he tries to extend that hitting streak, but to this point he has nothing to show for 2 long outs. Now Wade Boggs as the top of the order comes around for the 3rd time. Boggs has walked twice. He's now walked 31 times this year, 1 behind the league leader in walks, Fred McGriff. Ball 1 misses inside. Out of play to the left. Boggs has been criticized for numbers of that type. He hasn't always over his career been a productive hitter with men on base, particularly with men in scoring position. He quieted some of those critics last night with his 2-out base hit to left that scored 2 runs, the 2 runs that won the ball game for the Red Sox. 1-2 now to Boggs.
Watch Wade Boggs follow this ball right into the catcher's glove. Pete Rose used to do it. George Brett does it.
Boggs pulls it foul into the Red Sox dugout.
But I think Wade probably watches the ball better than any hitter that I've seen. The foul ball previous to that he fouled off the left field, his head was right on the ball. That's one thing that Walt Reniak teaches. Put your head on home plate. That's where all the action is. Don't turn it out there toward first base if you're left-handed or third base if you're right-handed. Put that head right in there on top of that plate.
Check swing at a fastball that was just outside.
Again, watch Wade Boggs' eyes as he checks swings. His eyes are right there on that baseball. A lot of times you see that hitter's left ear turn out for Wade Boggs. You could almost see his right ear.
Now a 2-2 pitch. Slapped out of play again to the left side.
It's amazing how much respect he has from these umpires, though. 3 pitches tonight that I've seen were very, very close. A lot like the pitch that Ruben Sierra was rung up on. But Boggs has that tremendous reputation, and rightfully so. He very seldom swings at a bad pitch. A lot like the great Ted Williams.
Has to be frustrating for a pitcher, though, when you feel like you've thrown a pitch that should have been called strike 3. And to a lot of other hitters, perhaps it would have been strike 3.
Well, to Joe Morgan, when I played with him in Cincinnati, he got the reputation of having a great eye, which he did, but umpires just would not ring him up. It seemed to me with 2 strikes, you could throw the ball on a full ball on the plate, and they just wouldn't ring him up.
There's another close pitch that was called a ball, and even third base umpire Larry Barnett didn't want to ring up Wade Boggs.
Hey, if it's a strike, ring him up.
Heap takes off, and Boggs sends it out of play. The rain coming down as hard as it has all night now. And Heap trots back through the rain to first base.
You know, hitting is an ability, obviously, but I remember them talking about Luke Appling fouling off 15 balls in an at-bat. There's no question that Wade Boggs is the best at that. Getting a pitch that's just out of the strike zone or borderline and flicking it off and getting another chance.
Heap runs again. Boggs right through the wickets of Jeff Hewson. It didn't go very far in the left, so Danny Heap stops at second. First Texas error of the night committed by Hewson. Runners at first and second with 1 out. That's exactly the kind of play that Hewson has been making that occasionally Jeff Kunkel would miss.
Well, I think this ball scoots on Hewson here. The ball kind of scooted on him, but that's the kind of play that you cannot boot. Just a basic 1-hop ball to you, but sometimes that ball will scoot off of that wet grass and get to you before you anticipate it. It picks up a little speed, hit you on the heel of the glove. Now we'll see about Bobby Witt's maturity. This is where you got to reach back and do it yourself.
Tying run at the plate and Jody Reed. 4-1 Texas in the 5th. Reed looks at a changeup low for ball 1. Jody is struck out, and he doubled on the left field line his last time up. Four runs on 9 hits, and now 1 error for Texas. 1 run, 3 hits, and 1 error for Boston. Fouled straight back. 1 ball, 1 strike. High and away. 2 balls, 1 strike. Two-one offering. Slapped straight back onto the screen.
Jody helped him a little bit there. Fastball up in the strike zone, out of the strike zone. Chasing it 2-1.
Jamie Moyer is still throwing, and he has been joined by right-hander Gary Milkey, who appeared in last night's game and took the loss. (4-1) Texas. 2 men on with 1 out in the bottom of the 5th. And Bobby Witt's 2-2 to Jody Reed is low and away at full count. And now Joe Morgan has a decision to make. Jody Reed, a good contact hitter at the plate, but Danny Heap is not a fast runner at all at second, and if Reed should be out on a 3rd strike, it's an inning-ending double play.
Well, because they're in the meat part of their lineup, I doubt if they'll send Danny here, because, you know, Jody's hitting second, got 3rd, 4th hitters up next. It wouldn't make much sense to me, because all you're trying to do is stay out of a double play. And
what Joe Morgan does sometimes go against the book. He does not hear the runners stay. Ground ball, base hit. Heap, a late stop sign. He slips down and falls, but Doherty airmailed the cutoff man, and that allowed Heap to get back into 3rd. Rack Slider was waving him in, gave him a very late stop, and Heap was on the grass as he rounded 3rd. He fell down, but Doherty's throw sailed over the cutoff man all the way to the plate, and the Rangers couldn't capitalize on Heap going down.
well, I've often heard this is the toughest place to coach third base. Base hit, hard ground ball. Doherty charges his ball extremely well, rights himself. Danny Heap not having great speed, but there you see Slider slowing him up late. Here you go, Danny Heap gets a good jump on the ground ball. Going full tilt, hilts the bag, and is not told until afterwards, and there's no way that you can stop.
Now Mike Greenwell at the plate.
Tough decision for a third base coach, but you need to let that runner know about 3 steps before he hits that third base bag.
3 for 38 this season with runners in scoring position is Greenwell. He is 0 for 7 with the bases loaded. 1 ball the count. Tying run at first. 2-0 as witnesses low and inside.
Well, that's the thing we talked about Bobby. He's just kind of cruising along, settling along. But I noticed one thing. He has not been able to get that breaking ball over for a strike. Every time he gets in a crucial situation, 2-2, when he needs to throw a breaking ball or some other pitch for a strike other than the fastball, he has not been able to do it. You can't live on that fastball alone. He's
1 ball away from forcing in a run and pitching to Tom Brunansky with the bases loaded. Bases full of Red Sox. Heap the runner at 3rd, Boggs at 2nd, Reed at 1st. Texas leads 4-1. 1 out in the home half of the 5th inning. 3-0 to Greenwell. High and tight, ball 4. Heap trots home. It's 4-2 in favor of Texas. RBI number 7 of the season for Greenwell. Petrali talking to Witt. The next visit means Witt has to come out. So if Bobby Valentine wanted to keep Witt in the game but calm him down himself, he's out of luck. He's already been to the mound once.
Well, 3-0. He just throws a fastball high and up in the strike zone again.
Not high, says Bobby Valentine, but certainly the replays seem to show that it was high and inside.
Well, Bobby's staying with Witt here simply because the shortstop made the error in a crucial situation for him, and he'd like to get him a win. If he gets through this inning, you bet he's out of there.
Just 1 hit in the inning. The single by Reed. Started with the hit batsman, then the error by Houston. The single to Reed, the walk to Greenwell. Brunansky hit a towering home run over everything. Left center field his last time up, and his single back in the 2nd was a solid shot in the left center. 1 strike pitch. Big swing and a miss.
Well, that's 2 breaking balls. He started him off with a breaking ball for a strike and came back with another breaking ball for a strike, and that's the equalizer. Bobby Witt has that great fastball, but if you throw it all the time and that's the only pitch you can get over, these major league hitters are going to hit it. Both of the hits that Brunansky has have been on fastballs out over the plate.
34 pitches this inning, 93 for the ball game for Witt, who's working on 3 days rest. Brunansky steps out. He'll be followed by Dwight Evans. Now the 0-2 pitch. Just missed, blown away. That's a good spot with an 0-2 pitch.
Good spot, but I tell you what, I have not seen him throw. I was talking earlier about Bobby Valentine talking about his maturity. What Bobby wants him to do is throw fastballs in off the plate, and he has not done that yet. He falls in love with the outside part of the plate. These hitters just look for it out there. He needs to bust Brunansky in now with that fastball.
Trolley threw a long sequence of signs, but apparently with nothing that pleased Witt. 4-2 Texas. At one time, the Rangers led 4-0. Red Sox have the tying run at second. Go ahead run at first. There's the fastball inside. And Bobby Witt hasn't caught too many breaks from home plate umpire Greg Kosk.
I tell you one thing, that is a perfect pitcher's pitch. Talked about earlier, that's what they wanted to do, and that's where he needed to go. And there's no way on earth that Brunansky was going to be able to pull the trigger on that pitch.
Bobby Valentine apparently agrees with the statement I just made that Witt isn't catching too many breaks, and Greg Kosk just turned and hollered something back at Bobby Valentine. 2-2 the count. Struck him out with the breaking ball in the dirt.
And John, that's what's happening. When they see that good, strong fastball on the inside part of the plate, you have a tendency to want to cheat as a hitter. That makes that breaking ball so effective. And that's why he got him here on the check swing. See him here with a breaking ball. Not a real good breaking ball down, but he popped that fastball in on Brunansky earlier, and then you've got to respect it when it's early. But it's easy to hit that fastball when it's always out over the plate.
Big strikeout for Bobby Witt, his fourth. Base is still loaded with 2 outs. Now Dwight Evans, who's one hit shy of 2,300 for his career. I did say one hit shy, didn't I, Ray?
Yes, absolutely.
My apologies to Evans and his family. Tried to hold up his swing and couldn't. 0-2. Only 4 Red Sox players in history will have reached the 2,300 hit mark when Evans comes through with his next hit. Boggs still standing at third. Reed the runner at second, and Greenwell at first with 2 outs in the fifth. 4-2 Texas.
Another situation, 0-2, throwing that fastball in off the plate, a quality type pitch, maybe 3 or 4 inches in off the plate just to show it to him. If he swings at it, fine, but he can't do anything with it if it's way in there. He got that one out over the plate too much.
Loop down the right field line, it's slicing foul into the seats.
But he had the right idea. Petralli set up inside. He tried to get it in there, but he got that ball over the plate a little bit.
Another 0-2 pitch. Strike 3. That time, Evans thought Witt caught a break from Greg Kosk. That didn't look like as good a pitch as several others that were called balls.
This is a breaking ball, and maybe Bobby, oh man, you call him.
Bobby Witt very close to the plate on some pitches called balls, way outside with that pitch. It's called strike 3. 1 run for Boston in the fifth. They trail 4-2. With Ray Knight, Sean McDonough back at Fenway Park in Boston. 4-2 Rangers as we go to the 6th inning. You can see the skyline of Boston tonight from Fenway. The last few days it's been so foggy and rainy. Sometimes you haven't been able to see those skyscrapers. Julio Franco begins the 6th. Julio grounded to short back in the first inning and singled and scored one of the 3 Texas runs in the 4th. Dennis Lamp beginning his 2nd full inning. He's pitched an inning and 2/3 of 1-hit shutout relief. And Franco is out on the first pitch. A fly ball to center field. Once again, here's John Saunders.
The Pirates hit the Astros, and nothing shy about this hit. Dan Schatzter to Barry Bonds, who just pulls this one out to right field. His 7th home run of the year and 1st career grand slam. 3rd of the day. The Angels, or rather Pittsburgh over Houston, 4-2. Let's get back to you.
Easy for John to say. Low and away, ball 1 to Harold Baines. Baines bounced back to the mound in the 1st. Singled, driving in a run, and he also scored in the 4th. That's to the left field corner. Greenwell over to play it. Baines will try for 2. Here's the throw from the corner, cut off. And Harold Baines is 2 for 3.
Harold Baines, one of the best pure hitters in the game, away from the plate, ball away, same way, head straight down on that ball, stays behind the ball, likes the ball away. Boy, he can hit.
10 hits now for Texas. That's their first extra base hit. Gino Petralli tried himself to have Texas's first extra base hit tonight when he tried to stretch a single into a double. He was thrown up by Tom Bernansky back in the 4th. Petralli's 2 for 2 with a couple of singles. He's always hit well against the Red Sox. Came into tonight as a .367 lifetime hitter against Boston. 33 hits in 90 at bats, including 5 home runs. Low and inside.
We're talking about this Texas ball club, and speaking of Valentine before the game, he said they had tremendous ability. They just haven't been able to put it together. Some examples of that ability: they could have had the MVP in Ruben Sierra. He finished 2nd. Could have had the Cy Young in Nolan Ryan. The rookie pitcher of the year in Kevin Brown. They did have the fireman of the year in Jeff Russell. They probably have the best DH.
Up the middle, a long way for Reed to go. He sets himself and throws Petralli out. 2 outs now, and on the play, Harold Baines moved to 3rd.
Finish that thought, the best DH with Harold Baines, and Julio Franco has hit 300 the last 4 years. So they do have a lot of talent. They just have had trouble putting all that stuff together.
And they've had trouble with consistency out of their pitching staff. Certainly they're not helped now with Nolan Ryan being on the disabled list. Kevin Brown is quickly becoming well known as one of the best pitchers in the American League. Mike Stanley fouls the first pitch to him into the mid of Tony Pena for strike 1. Jerry Reed has begun throwing in the Boston bullpen. Texas leads 4-2. They have a runner at 3rd with 2 outs in the 6th. Back to the mound, knocked down by Lamp. He has plenty of time to throw out Stanley. And the Rangers can't take advantage of the 1-out double by Harold Baines in the 6th. After 5.5 at Fenway, it's the Rangers 4 and the Red Sox 2. On Sunday here at Fenway Park, Mrs. Jean Yawkey took part in a ceremony unveiling a life-size wooden statue of Hall of Famer Carl Yastrzemski.
I'll say one thing. A statue looks much better than I do. And I'm glad that it's going to be in the New England Sports Museum. So all the fans of the Boston Red Sox will have an opportunity to see it because of all the support that you gave me over my 23 years in playing with the Red Sox. Thank you very much.
That sculpture most impressive, sculpted by Armand Lamontagne. He's from Rhode Island. He worked 80 hours a week since last September on that piece of wood. And it was exact in every detail, exactly the same size as Yastrzemski. Yaz himself was measured for it. And as Yaz mentioned, it will be on display at the New England Sports Museum, which is a pet project of Dave Cowens, the former Celtic great. He is the president of the New England Sports Museum. Bobby Witt still on the mound as we go to the bottom of the sixth, and he's working to Tony Pena. Does it surprise you, Ray, that Bobby's still out there?
Surprised me a little bit. He has 102 pitches. I thought that if he got out of that last inning, he was laboring quite a bit, that Bobby might go to the bullpen. But he probably talked to Bobby, and Bobby feels strong, and he made some good pitches, those last two hitters in that inning.
He's ahead of Pena, a ball and 2 strikes. Tony has struck out and grounded into a 1-6-3 double play. Red Sox have had their chances against Bobby Witt. They've scored twice, but they've also left 6 men on base through 5 innings, including the bases loaded last inning. 2-2 now. Pena, Burks, and Heap, batters 6, 7, and 8 in the Red Sox batting order, due up against Texas right-hander Bobby Witt. Late swing, strike 3. That is 3 straight strikeouts for Bobby Witt. Tomorrow night, Don Mattingly leads the Yankees against Kirby Puckett and the red-hot Minnesota Twins. That's Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. live on ESPN. Others of you will see Pittsburgh and Houston. 6 strikeouts now for Witt as Ellis Burks stands in. He struck out his last time up. He grounded to short back in the second, and he fouls the first pitch straight back for strike 1.
And finally, we see Witt starting to come inside, using the inside part of that plate. Strikes Pena out after going 2-2 with a breaking ball. Busts him inside with a fastball. Comes right back with another fastball in.
Witt, who as a youth growing up in Canton, Massachusetts, came to Fenway Park regularly, is looking for his first win ever at Fenway Park. This is his 5th career start here. He misses low, 1 ball, 1 strike. Low and away. 2 balls and a strike. Well hit left field. Way back toward the screen and into it. Second home run in as many nights against the Rangers for Ellis Burks. It's his 4th home run of the season, and Boston is now within a run at 4-3.
Well, Petralli sets up outside. He throws it out there. The ball moves right back over the middle of the plate. And he kills it. It's amazing to me how every pitch that has been hit hard off of Bobby Witt has been out over the plate. Nobody has touched him when he throws the ball on the inside third of that plate. Again, he chooses 2-1 to go out there to a hitter's strength, and he loses the battle.
Scott Coolbaugh is into the game at 3rd base. Rangers leading by 2 when the inning started. Bobby Valentine going for a little more defense. We mentioned there were all kinds of trade rumors swirling around the Texas Rangers. Scott Coolbaugh's name has come up in a lot of trade rumors, but we are told by the vice president of the Texas Rangers for public relations, John Blake, that there will be no announcement about a trade following tonight's game. Valentine has action in the bullpen again as Witt works to Danny Heap. A late swing and a foul off to the left. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Heap scored the Boston run last inning when he started the inning being hit by a pitch. Kenny Rogers is warming up.
Well, Sean, one of the things that Texas needs, they've talked about one of their needs is a setup man. It's pretty obvious to me that they need one simply because quit throwing all those pitches. If they had a good setup man, he would be out of there now.
2-2. Getting from the starters to Jeff Russell has been a problem for Texas. Heap lays off the high fastball, and he has battled his way back to a full count. The Rangers have a 4-3 lead. The Red Sox have scored 1 run in each of the last 3 innings. We're in the 6th, 1 out and the base is empty. Heap with a fly ball to straightaway center field. Cecil Espy with the catch. 2 outs and the base is clear here. Let's check in with John Saunders.
John and Ray, you recall the shot Jose Canseco hit during the American League Championship Series in Toronto last year. How about this one against Frank Wills? You won't see where the ball hits, but it's above the restaurant in center field. And that's just about as far as you can hit a ball. His 15th of the year, a grand slam. Oakland wins 5-4. Back to Sean and Ray.
And you know Jose has to feel good about that because he wasn't feeling too good about Todd Stottlemyre pitching inside yesterday. Hit a tremendous blast in that game, helping propel Oakland to their win yesterday against Toronto. Luis Rivera at the plate, just foul as that bouncer passed the third base bag. Rivera has come oh so close tonight to extending that hitting streak to 11 games, but to this point he's 0 for 2 with a couple of loud fly balls to center.
Boy, he's really swinging the bat well. I remember when he was in Montreal, he looked like he was going to be a pretty good hitter, but he tended to get jammed a lot. Guys would bust him inside, but he's really shown good bat speed tonight and has hit the ball on the nose 3 times.
He's a little guy, but if you make a mistake to him, he can put it in that screen and left. He hit 4 home runs last year. That pitch apparently just a little bit high, 2-1. To right field, Sierra backs up and makes the catch. The Red Sox inch closer with a run in the 6th on the home run by Ellis Burks. After 6, Texas 4, Boston 3. ESPN's baseball tonight, game 2 of our Tuesday doubleheader. Rangers off to a 4-0 lead, but the Red Sox are chipping away with single runs in each of the last 3 innings, to the delight of the Fenway faithful, including radical Red Sox fan Bart Simpson. Sure, Bart is enjoying the performance of Dennis Lamp, who's pitched 2 2/3 shutout innings.
A lot of big league managers now tell you that middle relief pitchers are the most important cog in a ball club's arsenal, and this gives you a reason why. He keeps you in the ball game, gives you offense a chance to come back.
Just over the leap of Lamp, but Rivera is there to throw out Cecil Espy. Espy's now 0 for 3. Rob Murphy is warming up in the Boston bullpen. This will likely be the last inning for Dennis Lamp. Back to the top of the order for the Rangers and Jeff Hewson. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Fastball a bit high. Ball 1. Hewson's average has dropped 11 points tonight with his 0 for 3. Chopped down to first. It stayed down for Heap, and he could not make the play. Couldn't tell if it hit the lip of the infield, but something made the ball stay down when Heap was expecting it to bounce up, and Hewson is safe at first.
Well, this is just a lack of Danny not being able to, not playing a lot. The ball does hit the edge of the turf right there. And that ball always shoots straight down, takes all the spin off the ball. And you sure can't read that next stop. But usually at first base, you're playing deep enough. If that ball hits off that edge, you usually have a chance to make the play. Danny was kind of in between there, not playing a lot of first base. To me, that tells me he doesn't have a whole lot of confidence in Dennis Lamp getting over to first base. But with a left-handed hitter up there that runs just about average, first baseman's normally a little deeper than that.
It is an error for Heap in his first start this year at first base. Jack Doherty, 3 for 3 with 3 singles. 2 to right field and 1 an infield hit. He hit the ball Lamp couldn't track down in the 5th.
And it's Jack's first 3-hit game of his career, Sean. He doesn't play that much. He's just been used primarily this year as a pinch hitter and played a little bit of first base and left field.
This is his 10th start of the year and the 26th game in which he has appeared. This is the 39th game overall for the Rangers. They're 16 and 22. Bobby Valentine said Houston is not a speed burner, but if you don't pay attention to him, he can steal a base. And Jeff has 2 this year. He's been caught once. Check swing, a strike, throw down to first. And Houston is back. Texas leads 4-3. Houston a long look now to Dave Oliver in the third base coach's box.
Well, he can steal a base for you. He stole 56 bases in Double-A, and 3 times in the minor leagues he stole 30 plus. As you see Tony Pena tell him to throw over there with that little flip of the thumb. Fastball away.
And it's high. 2 balls, 1 strike. Sean McDonough with Ray Knight at Fenway Park. 4-3 Texas as the Rangers bat in the top of the 7th inning. 2-1 the count now to Jack Doherty.
Well, this is a good hit and run situation. It's time to get something started for the Rangers. They have not created any offense since early in the ball game, so I wouldn't be surprised if something happens right here.
Big swing and a miss. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
The reason I say that, Lamp has excellent control. Doherty being a good contact hitter. Houston having decent speed. It's a good situation to start a runner and try to create some offense when things become stagnant.
A ball high. And the count is full. And now certainly you would expect Houston to be on the run.
If he doesn't start in here, I'm going to be shocked.
Valentine also has Kenny Rogers continuing to throw in the Texas bullpen, and it's likely with Witt working on 3 days rest and well over the 100 pitch mark that Rogers will come on when we go to the bottom of the 7th. Houston goes. The pitch bounced through the right side into right field. Great decoy at second by Rivera. Brunansky throws to third, still not in time to get Houston. Houston stopped at second for several seconds before realizing that the ball was through into right. Then Jeff continued on to third. And that's going to be all for Dennis Lamp. Joe Morgan is on his way to the mound, and Rob Murphy will be summoned.
Well, Houston makes a cardinal mistake here. He's looking at the ball, and you should be picking up the third base coach. You always pick up the third base coach. He'll let you know if the ball is down on the ground. He's looking at Rivera and looking at the second baseman, looking everywhere except at the third base coach. When the ball's behind you, you pick up that third base coach, and he'll tell you what to do.
Houston to third on the 4th hit of the night for Jack Doherty. Here comes Murphy into the ball game. He'll be the 3rd Boston pitcher of the night. 4-3 Texas in the top of the 7th at Fenway.
At Tiger Stadium in Detroit, the Tigers trying to make it 8 in a row, but Nunez on to face Danny Tartable. Takes this one to the opposite direction into the upper deck. Don't look down there. It's up top. 2-run shot. Gerald Perry was aboard. 8-6 for the Royals. Tigers, though, with runners at first and second. Mark Davis now in for the Royals. Let's get back to you.
And here it's Rob Murphy on relief of Dennis Lamp with runners at the corners and 1 out. Texas trying to add to a 4-3 lead.
Well, the thing about Rob Murphy this year, he's given up 6 home runs in 23 innings. See, he's 0-1 with a 5.40 earned run average. Fastball, slider, change, but that's a lot of long balls. And you tell me that he's given up some shots.
Gary Gaetti on Friday night hit one halfway up the light tower in left field off Rob Murphy. Rafael Palmeiro, 1 for 3 with an RBI single to right his first time up in the first inning. Swings at the first pitch and drives it toward the wall in left center. Back to the wall, Greenwell, he leaps and makes the catch. Houston's on to score, and it's 5-3 Texas. RBI, the second of the night and 22nd of the year for Palmeiro, but he could have been on base were it not for a fine play by Greenwell.
Well, just right up there where he can serve that ball out to left field, fastball up, easiest place to hit a fly ball. And then Greenwell going back and making an outstanding play, banging against the wall. But I really like Palmeiro's choice of pitch there. As a right-handed hitter, you like the ball out over the plate. It's the easiest ball to hit in the air. Left-handed hitter, unless you're one of those left-handed hitters that really likes the ball down, but Palmeiro is not.
Ruben Sierra taking all the way. Strike 1. Sierra batting for the first time tonight from the right side. Tonight he has walked, singled, and scored and struck out.
Excuse me, partner. Rob Murphy always making a lot of appearances. Led the National League with 76 in 1988. Had a staff high 74 last year. Some people wondering if he's thrown so much that he's lost a little bit off of that fastball.
He has been complaining lately of a tired arm. Joe Morgan went several days without using him. Murphy estimated that that tired arm cost him 4 or 5 miles per hour off his fastball, and you can understand why he would have a tired arm based on those numbers. The busiest man in baseball over the last 3 years. Struck him out. Went down in the dirt. Sierra got a piece of it, but Pena held on to it, and that ends the inning. 1 run for the Rangers in the 7th. And at the stretch at Fenway, they lead 5-3. Well, the Rangers have to be very pleased with Bobby Witt's start tonight on 3 days rest. He worked 6 innings, allowed 3 runs, only 2 of them earned on 5 hits. He was victimized by 2 home runs. Witt walked 3, struck out 6, and hit a batter. He threw 119 pitches, and he has departed in favor of left-hander Kenny Rogers.
Well, Kenny Rogers has a fastball, curveball, changeup, really has to spot the ball. Last year he had a tremendous year with 3 and 4 with the Rangers with a 2.93 earned run average, but thus far this season he's really struggled. In 21 innings, he's got a 7.06 earned run average and has a tough time getting people out. Bobby said that he's thrown every pitch seems to be right out over the heart of the plate in the same speed.
Ideally, Valentine and Tom House would like to make Kenny Rogers a starting pitcher. They think he'd be effective in that role, but until they can find somebody else who is effective in the setup role, they can't afford to move Kenny Rogers out of that role. "5-3 Texas as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Wade Boggs has walked twice and reached on an error by the shortstop Jeff Hewson. Rogers misses high with ball 1. Boggs, Reed, and Greenwell will bat in the 7th. Low and away, 2-0. Fouled back to the screen. Kenny Rogers is 25 years old. That impressive season that Ray was talking about last year was his first season at the major league level. Born in Savannah, Georgia, he was raised and still resides in Dover, Florida. 6'1", 200 pounds, ground ball, long way for Franco to go, and he couldn't get to it. A rare base hit to right for Wade Boggs. He usually makes his living in left field and left center.
Wade's just back again, and just a breaking ball that he kind of just turns over that top hand and pulls the ball in the hole. The reason that ball's a base hit, as you said, Sean, Franco planting him up the middle, shedding him into left field. It's one of the few times you'll see that top hand on Wade Boggs turn over.
That was a big unearned run the Rangers scored in the top of this inning. Had they not scored it, Joe Morgan could play for 1 run and the tie with a good bat handler and a good bunter, Jody Reed, at the plate. Now down by 2. The sacrifice really is not an option for the 59-year-old skipper of the Boston Red Sox. Outside. 2-0 to Jody Reed, who was struck out, doubled the left and singled the left. Groundskeeper Joe Mooney at Fenway Park is going to have a chat with Bobby Valentine. He's wearing out the grass between the dugout and the mound tonight. Most of them just very short pep talks, it would appear.
Well, Bobby probably does that more than anybody in the league. And there's not a whole lot you can tell him, man, when you go out there in a situation like that. Kenny this year, according to Bobby and Tom House, has been basically wild, and when he throws the ball on for strikes, it's always over the middle of the plate. He's already given up 29 hits in 21 innings.
Reed hits a double play ball down to Coolbaugh. Franco, low throw. Palmeiro stayed with it. And the Rangers turn a big double play, 5-4-3.
This is the ball that he throws a sinker down. Coolbaugh makes a real good play, staying in front of that ball, picking it on the short hop, coming up and just making a real good throw to Franco. And Franco getting out of there for Wade Boggs.
Now with Greenwell standing in, Petralli and Rogers confer in front of the mound.
You know, there's really 4 ways to turn a double play, Sean. With your left foot going across the bag and clearing yourself, as Joe Morgan used to do a lot, hitting the bag with your left foot and going back away from the bag, using the bag as a shield or a buffer. And that's what Franco did there, and I'm a little surprised that he gave ground in that situation, because it's very hard now with that new rule you can't roll block. It's very hard for a runner to get to you when you go back toward left field on that particular play.
1-0 to Greenwell, who walked with the bases loaded in the 5th inning, picking up his 7th RBI of the season. He bounced into a double play his first time up and flied to left in the 3rd. Greenwell's name has been mentioned in trade rumors, most recently involving the Atlanta Braves. Red Sox in need of pitching. Tom Glavine's name has come up, although both sides have denied the Greenwell for Glavine trade rumors. That's been fueled somewhat by the fact that Tom Glavine is a native of Boston and has expressed a desire to play for the Red Sox in the past. One ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, Sean, the last time as you saw Tom House in the dugout there that there was a trade made was when the Braves traded for Roger Moret back in I guess about 75. It's been a long time.
Those 2 clubs got together when Tom House came to Boston. That was the last trade between the Red Sox and Braves. Greenwell strikes out. And he hears a cascade of boos from the Fenway fans. After 7, 5-3 Rangers.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Red Sox ask that your help keep the business and
Following the game between the Rangers and the Red Sox, join Dave Marish and Peter Gammons for a full special edition here Tuesday night of Baseball Tonight. They'll have all the scores and the highlights and run down all the day's action. including some of the highlights you've seen here tonight, like this one. Mark Davis, who struggled this year with the bases loaded. Cecil Fielder nearly has it in there, but Willie Wilson comes up with a diving catch. They're out of the trouble. Kansas City up 8-6, trying to end that 7-game Tiger winning streak. Back to Sean and Ray.
Thank you, John. Rangers 5, Red Sox 3 as we go to the 8th. And Joe Morgan has gone back to the bullpen for his 4th pitcher of the night. He's 34-year-old veteran right-hander Jerry Reed.
Jerry Reed, basically a two-pitch pitcher, fastball, slider, real good slider, tight breaker, real good control. Keeps the ball down in the strike zone most of the time.
He was released earlier this season by the Seattle Mariners and signed by the Red Sox. And his first pitch, a strike into Julio Franco. Franco's 1 for 3. He singled to center and scored one of the 3 Texas runs in the 4th inning. That was the big inning in the ball game, the 3-run Texas 4th. Outside, 1 ball and 1 strike. We could have quite a nightclub act with the 2 pitchers working at the moment. Jerry Reed for the Red Sox, Kenny Rogers for Texas.
Country Music Hall of Fame, right?
Mm-hmm. Two balls and a strike. Franco will be followed by Baines and Petralli. Batters 5, 6, and 7 due up for Texas in the 8th inning. Rangers have never trailed. They jumped off to a 4-0 lead, and to this point they've survived a couple of Boston rallies.
You know, Sean, you mentioned early about leadership and chemistry. Julio Franco had what they called an attitude problem, or termed it an attitude problem in Cleveland. Then he comes over here to Texas, and everybody talks about how positive he is, how he helped Ruben Sierra. And it's really funny how you can go from one place to the next and all of a sudden fit into a ball club so well.
In the air to center, Ellis Burks. 1 out.
Jerry Reed talking about Michael Jordan in basketball. Look at him stick his tongue out here as he starts to let this pitch go. See, somebody's going to go over there and say, well, every time he throws a fastball, he sticks that tongue out.
Well, that would be interesting to watch for a while and see if he does do it on every pitch. As a hitter, do you have time enough to think if that was the case, if he was sticking his tongue out on every fastball? When you see him stick it out, do you have enough time to react and say, oh, here comes the fastball? Or by the time you realize what it is it too late to react?
I think you probably can if he does it early enough. Obviously, if he does it late, it'd be very tough.